I feel like this is a video that I've been meaning to make for a while now, but just never really a great time to make this kind of video. But I feel like I'm in such a better place to be able to make this video. I'm going to be sharing my personal experience with our miscarriage that Noah and I had this past summer of 2022. I am not a doctor, so I am only sharing from my personal experience with the symptoms that I had, what I experienced. And so I want to go ahead and say that whatever I share is not necessarily going to be somebody else's story. It's also hopefully not going to scare you that if some of these symptoms happen, that means that this is what your outcome is going to be, because that's not the case at all. This is just what I experienced. And the reason why I really wanted to make this video was because a lot of times, especially if it's somebody's first miscarriage that they've ever had, you have no idea what to expect, because it's obviously not something that people want to share a whole lot on because it's heartbreaking. I found myself Googling a lot, which is just the worst thing you can do. It was just really hard. So I wanted to make this video to share my personal experience. So June of 2022, Noah actually had just left that morning to travel and speak at a church. I don't know why I waited till the morning that he left. I think it was just because I was so unsure. And the thought of waiting till he got back was just, I don't know. I wanted to see. I had been feeling like I was pregnant. I was late getting my period. So I took a pregnancy test that morning. Yeah, it was June 20th. And I found out that I was pregnant. And I called Noah. We FaceTimed him, Lion and I did, and told him that we were pregnant. And he was like, "This is how you're telling me? I'm so excited." But I literally just left this morning. So it was a crazy time. I think by the time I found out, I was probably 5 weeks pregnant, so super early. It was weird because I wasn't having the same symptoms that I had, that I felt when I was pregnant with Lion, but I was just every pregnancy can be so different, which is very true. So I just never thought anything of it. Well, with Lion, I got nauseated, not too terrible, but just nauseated. Well, as the weeks went on, days went on, I was just still not feeling anything, which I was like, hey, this is going to be the pregnancy where I don't get nauseated. I feel great during the first trimester, and I was just there for it. But for some reason, I don't know how to explain it, deep down, something just didn't really feel right. I think it was beginning of July. So really just a week and a half after I found out, I had my first spotting. Thankfully, Noah was with me when that happened. I went to take a shower at night and went to use the restroom before I got in and saw spotting. And I just immediately had this terrible feeling that that's what I was about to experience, was miscarriage. I ran into the bedroom with Noah and we just prayed. I think from that moment on, I just knew that whatever was to come was not something that I could control. I had lost all control at that point. Sent just fear though into my head because I couldn't do anything. And I knew that whatever was about to happen was gonna happen. We waited till the next morning. We called my doctor. This was the crazy part, was that my doctor was telling me that doesn't mean it's necessarily a miscarriage. You could have implantation spotting. So I felt a little encouraged at that point. And I was super hopeful. And she was just kind of watch it, monitor it, see if it happens again. So I feel my emotions this whole process were this, and then up, and then down, and then up, and then down. I think that was probably one of the harder parts about walking through this experience, is that it didn't just happen. I had that first sign, and then everything was kind of okay. And then I started having like cramping, and then I started spotting again. And so my doctor had me come in. I did like a blood sample because they were trying to check my HCG levels to make sure that they were like increasing, not decreasing, because if they're decreasing, then that means that you are experiencing a miscarriage. So I went and had that done. I had to go back in like 3 days, get it done again. My numbers weren't necessarily decreasing, but they weren't like on track with the week that I was. And I think I was like 7 weeks at this point. They were like, that doesn't necessarily mean that you've miscarried. Like everybody's is different. So like I said, at this point, I am like, okay, so maybe I haven't miscarried. Maybe this is just like a crazy thing my body's going through, and this is implantation bleeding, and you know, this is totally normal. This is okay. I want to be super encouraged. Like I can't like shake this like feeling that I have. It was crazy because Noah and I had our summer, our whole last year of 2022 was just like absolutely insane when it came to our traveling. We were actually expected to leave on a ministry trip. It was going to be Noah, me, and Lion, all three of us. And we were supposed to leave like the next day. I just sat down with Noah and I was like, but what if I'm experiencing this and I go on the trip? So we had this conversation, just kept praying about it, putting it in God's hands. And I just told him, I was like, you know what, if I am going to experience this, like I don't want to sit at home without you and experience this like by myself. So, and there's nothing else that I can do. So I would rather just be able to go with you, just at least be together. The next day we woke up, we went on this trip, and then everything just like happened. I really started to experience like heavier bleeding, and it was crazy. It was like, and I'm really sorry if this is like TMI, but this is just like the real part of it. And I was at like a church camp. So we were like on campgrounds and because it was a youth trip. Thankfully we were with like literally we couldn't have asked to be with like better people on this trip. They are like second family to us, and they just surrounded us with love and prayer. And 2 of them actually had experienced a miscarriage before as well. So they were able to just like walk through this with me. It's so crazy because like I don't say this lightly because obviously you can tell that like it's still really hard to talk about, but I had so much peace. And I know that that sounds crazy, and I know that that's not everybody's story. And so like I really don't say that lightly, but at the same time, we had already prayed and given it over to Jesus. And at the same time, like I understand that like I am chosen to be a mom. Like whenever I do become pregnant, like I am chosen, and like my children, like including Lion, they're not my children. Like they're God's to begin with. And I just have been entrusted to take care of them, love on them, and watch over them until one day I will also send them out into the world. I knew that it wasn't my fault. I knew that there was nothing I could have done. I knew that there was nothing that I did. And I knew that they were with Jesus, and that was like the best place. That was the best place that they could have ever been. And I told Noah, I was like, it's such a crazy feeling to feel so much sadness and mourning, but also so much peace at the same time, how the two collided. I'm really, really glad that I decided to go on that trip too, because I was like in the middle of nowhere with people that loved us, literally just worshiping Jesus and talking about him and his goodness. As I was also walking through this season of like mourning and loss, I just like felt his presence like stronger than I had in a really long time, because he is near to the brokenhearted. And I just felt that like so securely. We allowed ourselves to mourn. We allowed ourselves to cry a lot, still crying. We allowed ourselves to walk through that, but we also allowed God to touch our hearts and heal it, and to just be there for us. That's just like, that's what I hold tight to, because like I said, I couldn't control the situation. There's so many things in this life that are far beyond our control. There are so many things in this life that are so far beyond our understanding, but it's not our job to control, and it's not our job to understand everything. We're not all knowing, we're not all controlling, but there is a loving God that is, and that's what I put my hope in, and that's what I put my faith in. I just allowed myself to sit in that situation and be and sit in his presence and to let him hug me and to let him be there for me. If you are walking through that season right now, or if you have walked through that season right now, I am months out from this, and of course, like, it still upsets me and it still makes me sad, and I'm still human and I get upset, but I just like want to say that, like, I see you, I see your hurt, and pray that you feel he is near to you like never before, that your baby is with him, and there's no better place for them to be right now. And rejoice in that there is a heaven, that there is such a wonderful, magnificent place that I can't even fathom the goodness of it and the beauty of it, that is like where they get to be. That is like where they get to go. And I want to share this too, because like I said, like, there is a time for mourning and there is a time for loss. There is a time for rejoicing and celebrating. And I know that God uses everything for good for those that love him. And I believe that. I stand firm in that. That's what his word says. And I will hold to that and cling to that. The crazy part is, at that camp where we were experiencing our miscarriage, a student who heard God speaking very clearly to her wrote on a note and brought it over to one of the leaders because she wanted to make sure that it was okay and that it was from God. And she wrote down this letter and said, God told me to write this for Noah and Maddy. And she gave it to us. It says, which I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because I'm just like, this is the faithfulness of God. In the note, it said, I will bless you with a baby girl one day. And it like goes into much further detail, but it said specifically like with a baby girl. And here we are. I'm 21 weeks pregnant. And I'm pregnant with a baby girl. It's just like, it's so crazy and so exciting. But at the same time, like, I know that everything that I walk through, everything that we will walk through, that we can do hard things because we don't do any of them alone. We walk through them hand in hand with Jesus. And I wanted to share this because I wanted to share a season that doesn't look like Instagram, doesn't look like social media. I also would just like really love to pray for those that are watching this that have either experienced a miscarriage before, that now are so fearful for the next pregnancy to come. Maybe you've experienced several miscarriages. Maybe you haven't experienced any at all, but you're still fearful. The one piece of advice, if I could share, is whenever the time does come, when you find out that you're pregnant, celebrate. No matter how early you are, no matter what, like, celebrate right then and there, because it's a gift. No matter what the outcome might look like, celebrate, because it's beautiful. It's a blessing. And then celebrate and put it in the hands of God, and never think twice about the things that you could have, should have, would have done. You love that baby as much as you can. You do the best that you can, and that's all that you can do. The rest you do have to just give it up to him, because I can tell you right now that he loves your babies more than you ever could. And so I just wanted to end this by saying, like, whoever is watching this, I see you. I love you. And I'm praying that God redeems your story. He is faithful. Pray for you if that's okay. And it's probably odd on a video, but I believe in the power of prayer, and I don't ever want to just say, like, I'm praying for you guys, turn the camera off, and then I don't pray for you. I want to be somebody that is prayerful, because prayer does change things. And when we come alongside each other and lift up each other's arms. Where two are gathered, there he will be also. And so that's what I want. I want him to be present in all of these situations: loss, celebration, mourning, dancing. Jesus, you are good. Lord, and we will sing your praises forevermore, no matter what the situation is, because you are so good. You are so faithful. I pray for anybody that is watching this, that is fearful, that is heartbroken, that is just experiencing pain of loss, that is fearful of future loss, God, whatever the case may be for them right now. If they are struggling, if their heart is broken, God, I pray that you stick so close to them, Father. They can truly feel your hand against their hand. They can feel you hugging them and embracing them, Father, that you've not left them, but you are actually closer than you've ever been before. I pray that you surround them and give them peace, that they know and understand that there is absolutely nothing that they could do or should have done that can change a situation, God, but that you are in control, that you love all of our babies, you love all of your children more than we ever could. And I just pray for your hand of blessing over their life, God. I pray that your faithfulness shines on them. And I pray that one day, when the time is right, you bless them in ways that they could have never imagined, no matter what that looks like, baby. In other ways, Father, I just pray that you bless them and that they see your goodness, they see your faithfulness, and the only way that we could point to anything that happens in our life, God, is because of you, and that you get all the glory from this. And we love you, and we thank you so much just for who you are, for the fact that you care for us, that you care for our hurt. You feel our hurt. You feel our pain. You've walked through it here on earth. And so I thank you for just understanding and just sitting with us when we cry, and for celebrating us in the times when we get to celebrate. We love you, and you are so good. Amen. I love you guys, and thank you if you've stayed through this whole thing. And yeah.